All right, we're gonna work on attacking our S mount from the double unders right now, and we're gonna work when we get to S mount just on first retention and looking to separate the arms. So we'll have Alejandro on his back, and we're just gonna go over here this way. We're just gonna go ahead and start with the double unders. In another video, we're gonna work how to get to the double chest wraps and single chest wraps, but right now we're just gonna go ahead and start with an ideal double chest wrap where I have both underhooks and I have both of Alejandro's elbows stuck above his head. So I have both his biceps on a double chest wrap. You want both the biceps glued to the face. Our chest is smothering the head, and then we're just in a really heavy mount. We can suffocate him from here and hold this position. Now, anytime you go to S mount, it's ideal that you do it with the double chest wrap because he has no hands to defend the legs coming up, and I can pick his head up at the same time. So before I get into how we're gonna slide up, I wanna do it with double chest wrap ideally, because you can see Alejandro can't stop my leg from coming up because I have control of both arms as I'm sliding up into the S mount. Okay? We can also do it, we're gonna review it with a single chest wrap, but there's a few things we have to do because while I can still pick his head up and slide up, he has a free hand to start defending. And if we're not careful, he can start putting us back into any various types of shin guards, half guards, and we'll have to start working back to mount. So we're gonna go ahead and start with our double chest wrap. Both arms stuck above the head, and I have my butterfly palm to palm grip underneath Alejandro's head. So from here, when I want to transfer to our S mount, I want to pick a side that I want to have my knee above his shoulder. So that would be the side you're trying to attack the traditional armbar. So if I want to attack Alejandro's right arm, my left knee, when I slide up, wants to slide up past Alejandro's head. I want my center line in line with Alejandro's shoulder line. If you don't slide up high enough, this elbow is going to be out here in this pocket. So when I slide up, I want to be, when I turn here from my S mount, I want to be in line with his shoulder. So see, Alejandro's arm is stuck here now. And then we're going to be sitting on top of him. We're not going to be hanging off like this. And then ideally I want to have his head up, and then we get our knee above his shoulder line so his head is resting on our knee. And then this far arm, we had the underhook. This leg now can swish her out, and I bring my heel in an imaginary line with my knee. If you could, I could always attach, but that's dependent on your length and your opponent's body type. But I don't want it out here. I don't want it folded underneath. I want to be able to bring it up. My heel and my knee are above his shoulder line with his Alejandro's head right on my thigh. Okay. So to do that with the chest wrap, we have the chest wrap. I have control of his head. I'm gonna post to my knee first, and I fold Alejandro in half like this, okay? I literally pick him up, and I can start to slide my knee underneath his head. Now, because I have control of that far arm, there's nothing he can do to stop this leg from coming up. And this is the beginnings of our S mount. Now, turn this way really quick. When we're on top of our S mount, I was just showing like this so I'm not sitting on top of Alejandro too long, but I want my center line, center of my weight, right on top of his sternum, okay? So when I pick Alejandro up and I start bringing this knee over, now I'm gonna place my weight right on top. And it's almost like a scarf hold. You can submit someone from here, especially if it's later in a match and they're tired. I can pick Alejandro's chin to his chest and keep driving in and get a chest compression submission, okay? So this is where we wanna be. Knee, heel above his shoulder line, and an imaginary line connecting, picking his head up, and then I'm isolating. I like to have my foot out instead of collapse, or maybe against a bigger opponent, or I'm a little higher up. If he were to bridge towards me, maybe I fall on my ankle and I don't have the best balance. So I like to be on my toes, and this hand can just post. So there's no way I'm gonna lose this position, okay? This is a transitory position until you go for your arm bars. I can hold this as if it's a normal mount or a back take. Okay, turn this one more time. So we're on our double chest wrap. I pick a side I want to armbar. Slide up, and I fold my knees above his shoulder line. I swisher this leg out. I lean back. That way this leg is light. If you're leaning forward, this leg's hard to get out and back in. So it's okay to lean, fold, and now I lean back, and then I'm back on my foot. Low center of gravity, most lean. If I want to try and start submitting him, I just lean, pick his head up, okay, and we're here. And for now, let's assume that whichever side we slid up, your opponent, your partner, is defending the primary arm you'd want to attack. Okay. If I went to an S mount and his arm is already unisolated, where I can take his arm, I can just go ahead and attack right away. But let's work on isolating the arm, so that way it's defenseless, so we can take it. So let's assume that when we get to our S mount, that our partner is like this. Okay. So one more time before we work on the arm. Double chest wrap underneath the head. The reason you want to be underneath the head is because now I don't have control of picking his head up. If I slide up now and he decides to bridge, he can get a good bridge because his head's on the mat and he can start moving away. So you want to make sure that you're underneath the head, okay, on that chest wrap. I can lean forward, hop up, fold them, and now we're in our S mount. I can stay underneath the head too and stay here as long as I want. Then we'll start isolating the arms. Make sure that our weight is on his sternum. Turn this way again. So you can see here, if your center of gravity is off, this isn't a good S mount. There's no weight on Alejandro, and he's able to turn. I could take his back if I want, but he's also able to turn towards me a lot easier too. Okay, and this leg is weightless. If he was able to get an inside elbow, start pushing the leg back into a deep half guard, now I'm in trouble. So you want to make sure that your center of gravity is right center on top of them, like this. Okay, that way all your weight is on top of Alejandro. I can switch back. I can still switch back to our traditional mount. We'll just go back. Okay, that's it. So on a double chest wrap, the goal is to stay underneath the head. So as we slide up, I can pick his head up. The attacking side, that knee is going to slide past his shoulder line. And then ideally, if you can, depending on both your body types, you want to get your leg underneath his head so his head's resting on your thigh like a pillow. And then we're going to swisher out our far leg so our knee and heel are in line like this, and Alejandro's shoulders would be here. And then just make sure that our center of gravity is right on top of him and not hanging off the side. And then now let's look into separating the arms from a defensive posture. So the main attack we look at when we're attacking S mount is an arm bar. From the near side we're sliding up. So we'll have Alejandro go down. Let's just stay with the double chest wrap. I'm going to attack on my left side, so that means my left side is going to be the one sliding up. I fold Alejandro, get my knee underneath, and we switch our legs, and we're in our ideal S mount position. Okay, I can stay here, wear him out a little bit. Alejandro already has defensive posture on the primary arm that we want to arm bar. So once I solidify my position, and I know I can start posturing up to attack his arm, what I'm looking to do first is isolate the arm away. I'm gonna have a hard time just pulling the arm when he has a defensive posture here. So I'm looking for ways to separate the arms so I can get the arm bar. Okay, so when I'm here, it's okay to posture up as long as I keep my weight centered on top of Alejandro. If I start to posture back, that's the second this leg's light, he can start to re-guard. Alejandro can just walk this way, and look, he's out and he can start attacking. So we would need to make sure that our weight stays centered. That's probably the main way you'll lose this when you try to separate the hands, is your weight tends to come back. The second my weight comes back, Alejandro just walks walks towards me. And then now he can start to just do traditional hip escapes. He can get an elbow wedge. My leg's already in danger. So when we do this, I want to make sure, turn this way so they can see. When I posture up here, okay, we had our S mount. Sorry. When I posture up, my weight is still centered on him. So now when Alejandro tries to walk away, he can't. Okay, I can follow him. Even if he started moving a little bit, I can follow him with this knee. Okay, yeah, and you hear him breathing. My weight is a lot heavier. So make sure that when we posture up, we don't sacrifice that center of gravity right here on top of the sternum. Okay. For the video, I'll try and keep my weight off of Alejandro so he's not dying. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 2-on-1 on the secondary arm, and I'm going to push it just far enough away. I don't even need to break this grip. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking to do is pass it across my center line and then pull. Okay, turn this way. So we're not looking to try and push it away and fight this grip. All I'm trying to do is push it far enough away where I can pass it across my body, and I'm going to pull it and put it right here in my pocket. So you can see now he has no defensive grip on that bicep. Okay, so I think a lot of people will stay here, try and fight this grip, try and like break his grips here. You don't have to do any of that. We go 2-on-1. I push. Remember, we want to keep our weight forward, so that's why we're pushing forward and not leaning our weight back. Okay, so you stay here. I posture up just enough where it makes a little bit of space. I push forward, and then second it passes across my center line, we pull it in the pocket, and I lean. That way, I have both hands now. My weight, turn this way. Oh, no, sorry. This way. My weight here, my belly, is closing the gap between my torso and my thigh. So when he tries to pull that out, it's difficult. Okay, not impossible, but it's difficult, and it should stay here long enough where I'll have a good chance, a good attack. I make sure I stay in position. This hand has great balance, so I can lean, so that way this leg is light to slide over or throw over when we're ready to. Okay, so again, defensive posture. My weight stays centered, but I come straight up. So I'm still on top of him. I go 2-on-1. I push just far enough so I can pass it across. We pull. I'll even help assist by the elbow, and I lean and put it in my pocket. I could even create a tighter closed circle by cupping his elbow or cupping his knee, so his hand is stuck in that loop and there's no way it can get out. Okay, so if I feel maybe this isn't enough, maybe he can start pulling it out, what I'll do is I'll stay here like this, okay, where I can still come back and post. Now, most likely he's still trying to just hang on to his shoulder, but that's a useless defense in the long run. But I want to grab the fat of his thumb here. Okay, so when I'm looking to attack this arm, I don't want to grab the wrist where he's still pretty strong in this position. You're looking to grab at the end of the lever, but with still ideal control. So you're grabbing the fat of the thumb here. And when I pull it, I'm looking to touch my far shoulder here. So when we're here, I don't want to hold it just like this. And the reason you don't want to hug the arm here is there's too much play. Even if I am successful in leaning and getting here, not that you can't tap people, but there's still too much play. You can see Alejandro can still move his elbow around. I can't really extend from this position. I'm probably gonna have to throw my leg over and fall back and adjust the arm. Our goal is to finish from top right now. So from here, that's why we grab the fat of the hand. And the reason we go to the far shoulder is because if I keep it here, even if I have the fat of the hand and have ideal control, his elbow is too close to this pocket where maybe he can get his elbow out, and I'm not going to be able to get a fulcrum behind it to break it. So by pulling it across, look how it already straightens out his arm. It pulls it across my body, so that way my body is the fulcrum behind, the force behind that elbow to get that break. And then I close my elbow to keep his elbow there across my body. So when he tries to pull that elbow back across, my elbow is blocking it. Okay, so we got our S mount. I posture straight up. We're gonna go 2-on-1, push forward just enough to pass our body, pass our center line, pull. I can assist at the elbow now. I put it in my pocket, transfer hands. Now we look for the fat of the hand. I secure the fat of the hand. I bring the wrist to my far shoulder, trap. Now I look to lean forward to get this leg light, and I bring my shin across, and we get the tap right here. Okay. I like to finish from top instead of falling back first. So I finish here, the tap. Yeah, you can tap all a whole sequence. So we secure our double chest wrap. I think of the arm I want to attack, so I know what slide I'm going to slide up. I lean forward, I slide that leg up, we fold them in half, and now we can solidify our S mount. Knee and heel are above, higher than his shoulder line in an imaginary line connecting. Leaning forward, our center line's on top of him. He's got his arms interlocked, defending the primary arm. I posture straight up, not leaning back. 2-on-1 on the secondary arm. I push to clear my body. Pull, centered in our pocket. Lean and trap. We secure the fat of the hand of the primary arm we're trying to attack, and we secure it to our far shoulder here. Bring our elbow in to secure. I lean, I can post, and then now I extend my body. Okay? Make sure when you're going to finish, we don't stay crunching and hipping. It's an extension. I'm pulling the arm in an extension of my body with my elbow still tight and get the finish. And if you have to adjust, we can always come back, readjust, and get the tap again. That's good. So, little details. Once we're ready to attack, we can assume most of our partners and opponents are going to have a defensive posture. So we want to make sure that we posture up and staying centered on our opponent. 2-on-1, pushing the arm away so we can secure it in our pocket. And then now, once we have the arm separated, there's nothing defending the arm that we're trying to attack. And then we want to secure, a little extra detail that really helped me finish is bringing the arm, instead of hugging it tight where there's a lot of play, is securing it to our far shoulder so that arm is across our body, and then just bring the shin across and finish from top. All right, so we looked at the primary attack when we're looking at S-mount is just the traditional near side arm bar, but we can always attack the secondary arm with straight arm locks, which could also be a way of opening up for the primary arm bar as well. So we'll just go ahead and fast forward. The same position, got our double unders, we can slid up to our S-mount. You know, all the details we talked about, knee and heel above the shoulder line, head off the mat. Now, if we aren't successful in putting the arm in the pocket, or even with the arm in the pocket, sometimes they're still doing a great job kind of holding, especially in gi maybe. We can always look to get a scoop grip on this far arm and start attacking straight arm locks here. This is also another way of isolating the primary arm too, because you can see I already isolated both arms away. Okay, so as soon as we can take that secondary arm off the top, whether it was with a push-pull to separate or with a scoop grip, you have the primary arm separated. Okay, so let's look at the straight arm lock on that far side. Again, you don't want to be leaning away like I am. I'm just taking my weight off for Alejandro for the drill. So when I'm looking to get a scoop grip on this arm, we can come forward and around like this, okay? Or we can still try and start to separate and then get a scoop grip here. I prefer leaning forward, still trying to push and separate that arm, and then I come in here and I punch through, and I'm going to look for that finish on the straight arm block. So we can lean and try and pummel our hand in, but a lot of times there's still no space. So what I prefer to do is start to separate the arm like that, pummel my hand in, and then before he's able to re-pummel, I bring his hand to my shoulder. Okay? And on that push-pull, if you revisit for the primary arm, sometimes like I don't have to just try and push his arm hard. Take little jerky motions to get the separation, and we can come in here. And the second there's that pocket, I can still hold his wrist, get my initial scoop grip, and then as I let go, we can bring his wrist to our shoulder. So when I'm looking to finish on that straight arm lock, I want the wrist, the crook of his wrist, settled right on top of my shoulder. And we just go back to that old analogy of on the phone, where I'm holding the phone, holding Alejandro's wrist with my shoulder. I shrug, I have good posture, and bringing my ear to my shoulder. And that's gonna create that pinch on that wrist. Now, there's several ways we can grip, but I think the best way, the only way that I go, is I bring my elbow to his elbow. And my goal is to point, try and literally point my elbow towards his head. Whether this was like a traditional straight arm bar from the top like this, my goal is to try not to stop here and just squeeze, okay? Is to keep driving and point my elbow towards his head, okay? So from that S-mount position, we create a little separation, pummel in, I close that gap, rotate this way. Look how I leaned, that's gonna help extend that arm. If I stay here, okay, it's gonna be a little more difficult, so we lean. I bring my elbow, when I punch for that underhook, I bring my bicep all the way to his elbow. So there's no space between my bicep and his arm. I don't want it out here where he can pummel his elbow back into the inside this way. Yeah, here, I'm gonna lose it. I wanna bring it across. I drag my elbow across. Now when I lock it up, I just prefer a butterfly grip, and I'm gonna continue now in a cradling motion to bring my elbow towards his head. Now most of the time you're not gonna ever actually be able to point your elbow all the way to his head. That's just the motion you're going for. I'm trying to drag my elbow to point my elbow at Alejandro's head. At the same time, on the phone, that extension is what cuts the slack on the arm. Just like when you do an arm bar, I want to be pulling the slack out of his arm to get the ideal finish. If you leave it loose, even if we have great posture on our correct placement on the arm, there's still play in his arm. You're always trying to cut that slack out when you're going for your arm locks. So when we get here, that extension is what's going to cut that slack. So I don't stay here and just try and finish. There's too much play. It's that pulling across and that extension that's going to get that finish. Okay. So we're here. My weight centered. I push. Scoop. Look how I close bicep. I drag my wrist and elbow across until it closes that gap. Butterfly grip, and then we continue in a sweeping motion, pointing our elbow towards Alejandro's head, getting that extension. And if we can't finish, we can always start transferring to secondary shoulder locks. I can pummel back, or we can just use that to separate the arm and go back to our attack. Okay, so one more time. We're here. We're in our S-mount. We got our great position. I'm just having trouble putting him in the pocket, or maybe he got it right back again. So I go, attack the secondary arm, wrist to wrist. You could even go all the way to your elbow if you prefer. I don't think it's necessary. I like here. Point that elbow, extend. You don't have it, I can keep that hand in the shoulder, and I still have my primary attacking hand. Bring it to the far shoulder. I can slide over or extend and finish from top. So we don't have to just solely, if we just focus on the primary arm, right, our opponent is going to have more defenses for us, be more prone to harder to finish. But if we can get him worried about multiple attacks, it's going to help open up the primary arm, and we may not even have to go for it by getting a submission on the far arm. Okay, now let's look at a mounted triangle that we can attempt from our S mount. Now, the only thing about going for the mounted triangle is if we're gonna fail, we're gonna have a hard time getting back to mount. So just know the risks of going for the mounted triangle. We don't really risk, once we have good ideal position, we don't risk anything by going for the arm bar here. If I don't have it, it's an easy transition, just go back to S mount or hold the elbows and go back to traditional mount, okay? But when we attempt to go for our mounted triangles, okay, if we're gonna lose this, there's really no way he's gonna allow me to get back to a mount, okay? There's just too many defenses in place probably to let me on a good opponent to get back to a mount. So just know when we go for this, you're probably gonna have a hard time getting back to mount, so we need to get to the finish. So we slide up, we get to our S mount, good defensive posture. We're gonna look to separate the arms. When I want to go for the triangle, I wanna almost start to switch back to a figure four, okay? But first I wanna try and separate the arms, and I wanna get good control of this wrist, because what I wanna look to do is just pin it down to his chest. So from a double chest wrap S mount, we have a little more work to do. I usually prefer, which will show on the single chest S mount transition, is it's a little bit easier because as I slide up off the single chest wrap, this hand is still down here, and typically it's going to start drifting down to push or attack that leg. So it's an easy grab for me where I can pin or push and get my leg through or over, okay? But we can still attempt this from the double chest wrap S mount. So go back to attacking the secondary arm, get it isolated, and make sure we stay underneath the head. Bonus is if we have that wrist too, okay, but it's not necessary. So I have the head. When I go to push his wrist down, we want the head lifted as high as we can, just as if we're doing that chest compression. Reason being is if his head is low, even on my leg, when I go to throw my leg over, he can bridge and move away. If he moves away, I'm gonna lose a position. So you need this head up. That way when I throw my leg over, there's also nothing impeding my leg from swishing and getting to a tight choking position. So we have our S mount. We look to separate the secondary arm. I push away, I secure it. Instead of pulling it in my pocket, I just want to secure it right here to his chest. I stay underneath. I pin it down, I hop that leg over. Once it's cleared over the elbow, I'm gonna lean forward. We're still holding the head, and now I can swisher my leg, I can shoot my hamstring tight behind his neck, okay? So I'm not gonna try and lock it up here. I turn to face him almost, and then we come back. So look at that transition again. So after we cleared this arm, I have the head off the mat. We get an initial bite. Now I lean forward so I can turn and cut that angle. We want the inside of our bicep right here of our hamstring on that neck. Okay, I don't want any part of my calf on his neck here. I want the back of my knee. So that's why when we clear the elbow, you can even grab your shins, still holding his head off the mat. Lean forward, and now look how I hit. Oh, it's almost like a hip heist, where I'm on my hand and his back leg. My weight comes off, so that when my leg is weightless and I can close that gap. Once I bite down, we put our weight back down on that knee. This back knee here is gonna drive, I wanna drive my knee into his ear. If you can see from this top position, you can't see his shoulder. What I don't want, just like in any triangle, is I don't want his shoulder in the choke. So I drive here. I'm not even worried about locking it up. I got short legs. Most of the time I just lock it up here on my lower calf. But if I can lean forward, I'll get a better bite. And I can finish right here. Okay, go back Alejandro. Sit up real quick. So here's Alejandro's shoulder line. I'm holding his head. I pin that wrist to his chest. I clear the elbow. Once I clear the elbow, I can grab my shin. I'm still holding his head up. I can lean forward now, and I'm able to swish, look how I hip heist, and get the back of my knee on his neck. So my leg is weightless here. Now I can lean forward. I pull his head up, and I'm able to get this lock. you curl this leg to lift his head up so this back leg can come underneath. Now I can hook as tight as I can. Remember, I hide his shoulder, and here is his shoulder line. I use this line as an example. My knees are in line with his shoulder. Both ankles are here. I'm not turning to face him head on here, okay? I'm turning at an angle to look down his shoulder line. And then I'm driving my knees together. Okay? One more look at that. Double chest wrap, slide up, got our good position, isolate the arms, push down, slide over, lean forward, hip heist, close that gap. I hide the shoulder, I turn back in line with the shoulder, I lean, pulling his head up, sit back. When I sit back, I'm driving this knee into Alejandro. So we lean forward, I catch, finish, okay? Now, sometimes maybe longer leg guys, or even me, I didn't set it up just right tight enough where I can't finish from that position. So if it's loose and he's not tapping right here, to tighten it up, we walk. Keep walking towards his legs. That's good. So the lock. If this isn't enough to finish him here, to tighten it up, we just on our hands, I start walking towards his leg, and that's gonna allow this back knee to start driving towards his head. It's hard to continue to drive here, so that's why we walk. You could even collect his legs. We walk, I walk, and as I'm walking, that knee is closing that gap towards my choking knee here. Last look. Double chest wrap. Slide up, we fold them. We're in our ideal attacking position. We separate the hands, I come back underneath the head, and I want to go for the triangle. Push. Slap that leg over the elbow. Lean forward. Hip heist. Catch that neck. I lean forward in line with the shoulder. I catch my ankle. I sit back. I walk towards the legs. That's good. So if you're having trouble attacking the arm and looking for a choke finish, and we still have the arm bar there, the primary arm from that triangle. Sorry, one more time. We didn't look at that. We don't need to finish. But from the choking, from this position here, if you're having trouble, we still have the arm bar. Bring it to the far shoulder, finish here, or slide back over, and I can come back. That's good. So you still have the initial primary arm to attack from that triangle. But if you're looking for that mounted triangle finish, make sure that we try and get the back of the primary leg, the knee, back of the knee to the side of the neck. We lean forward, curling, pulling his head up so that way our secondary leg can come in. We hide his shoulder, and then to finish, it's this motion here, trying to close that circle, and then to tighten it up even further, you walk towards the legs, and that's going to help you drive that knee into his head tighter.